Welcome to Hope in the Face of Cancer, where we share real stories of courageous people in their cancer journey. One of the questions we so often hear is, will I ever feel joy again? It's an honest question and a vulnerable one. Because when you or someone you love is walking through cancer, joy can feel so far away, like something that belonged to a different life before cancer changed everything. But what we have learned, and what so many of our guests have shown us, is that finding small moments of joy can make a big difference throughout your cancer journey. And joy doesn't have to wait until everything is better. It can be found on all sides of the healing process. Joy can show up quietly and when you least expect it, in the middle of grief, in the middle of trying to put the pieces of yourself back together. Sometimes it's a small smile that breaks through a heavy day. Sometimes it's hearing your own laughter again and realizing how much you missed it. It might come from the warmth of sunshine on your face, sharing advice with a loved one, the comfort of your favorite song, or a friend who sends a message at just the right time. These small moments don't fix everything, but they remind you that light is still there. Even in the hardest seasons, joy has a way of softening the pain, and sometimes it's joy that quietly opens the door to hope. In this episode, we reflect on what some of our guests have shared about finding joy throughout their journey. These are people who found joy even in the midst of uncertainty. They remind us that joy is something we can possess even in the hardest moments. Their stories are filled with strength in moments of unexpected lightness. And they show us that even when joy feels far away, it still has a way of finding us. One of those voices is Rita Villanueva, a breast cancer survivor who beautifully reminds us that joy can be present even in the middle of your journey. When you're facing cancer, joy can feel like the furthest thing from your mind. But sometimes, it's the smallest, most unexpected moments that begin to bring it back. A laugh with a friend, a quiet moment of gratitude, or simply the feeling of being alive. In this next clip, Rita shares how joy, love, and laughter became part of her healing process. Her story is a powerful reflection on the choice to live fully, even in uncertain times. Rita's energy is moving, and she calls it living la vida loca. Let's listen.
You have to go in with a positive attitude, and take each day at a time. I have to read this quote that I received. Yeah. Each day comes bearing its own gifts. Untie the ribbons. So you have to look at each day differently. Yes, maybe today was a rough day, but tomorrow I know it's going to be better. Just, mind over matter, Yeah. And again, take it day by day.
I think about, your cooking classes, and I think about, all the ingredients that it takes in a recipe to make something great. And in the cancer journey, I think those ingredients are, obviously great medical care. But that support, the positive attitude, all of those other components to the recipe, so that you can truly have a great outcome. How would you say your perspective on life has changed after going through breast cancer?
After that, it's like I'm living la vida loca,
I love it.
It's like live each day to the fullest. I'm taking these different craft classes. I'm doing a lot of stuff, and I did retire back in 2020. So I just said, there's all these little things I wanted to try doing, and I'm going to do it. And County to Canopy, it's real. I do attend. I volunteer. I'm very involved. I do the prosthesis and wig fittings, but I also attend various classes. And there's a sisterhood that I never asked to be in. But we're a community, we're a family. And you come here, you talk to other people, and you hear about their aches and pains or whatever. It's like we're all of the same golden age group here, but it's really fun. We have a lot of fun. You develop a good friendship. So life after cancer, as a survivor, you've got support as well.
Yeah,
you've
absolutely.
got it during, and it continues because you need that support to keep going on. just listen to your body. I'm more in tune with my body after the cancer diagnosis. And it's like, I'm sure my doctors, well, I feel this, well, I feel that. But, you have to, just listen to your body. If something doesn't feel right, take action. And that's what happened to me. I could have just let that go by thinking, it's nothing, and mine was a very aggressive form of cancer as well. So had I not, outcome would have been different for me, I would imagine. So I rescheduled them in February. And then I thought, I'm going to have a bye-bye boobies party. So I got a cake ordered at Randall's, and I asked of course I go there and there's this gentleman there, and I said, he said, what would you like on the cake? I said, how about can you put bye-bye boobies? And he looked at me, no expression whatsoever. He wrote it down, and I said, can you put like a pink breast cancer ribbon? He said, sure, what do you want to pick it up in? And he looked at me and he said, my mother had breast cancer. And he said, so I wish you well. And oh man, that just kind of like, oh wow,
Wow.
But my girlfriends loved it. Two of them are cake lovers, so they really loved it. They didn't care what it said on it. But yeah,
that's incredible.
That was my last go around with these girls and give them a good send off. There are just so many resources available.
Yeah.
Take advantage of what's offered. CanCare is there. Right. Canopy is there. You're not alone. You're not alone in the journey. There are others there that are willing to be there for you and with you, and take advantage of that. My gift is ability to help others go through this. Gift of listening, gift of just being there for somebody that needs something, and maybe not necessarily cancer, but also anybody that needs something just to talk to. It's because of my journey. I've had people approach me because I even put it on Facebook, asking for prayers. I was on so many prayer lists, but because someone just on Facebook approached me because they were going to have a biopsy. They were scared, and so I talked them through it. And then I've had other people come to me asking me for guidance and advice. So that's my gift, to share my story.
Yeah. Sometimes strength shows up in ways we don't expect. For Michael Wiesenthal, it came through building relationships and being present for others in the same way people once showed up for him. After walking through his own cancer journey, Michael found purpose and healing by giving back. His story is a reminder that connection can be one of the most powerful medicines we have, and that by choosing to serve, we don't just help others, we begin to rebuild ourselves. In this clip, Michael reflects on how volunteering with CanCare became not just something he did, but something that helped him become who he is today. Here's Michael.
I called CanCare back and I told them what I just told you, and they gave me another referral, and man, was I blessed. I got the all-star guy from CanCare. His name is Leonard Donaldson, and man, he is, he is like, to me, he's the face of CanCare, and we developed this friendship over the phone, and the next thing you know, he was visiting me in the hospital, and the relationship just grew and grew from there. And when I got out of the hospital, he and we've stayed very close. I really consider him part of my family. He was at my son's bar mitzvah. We've gone out and did some speaking together. Just a great guy, and man, was I blessed. As you start to say that, I kind of get goosebumps or chills because Leonard didn't have my exact kind of cancer, but our symptoms were very much alike, and the fact that we both had careers and families and all that, so he understood what I was going through mentally, and a little bit physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all those things. And the doctors just don't have that. So Leonard brought a whole new dimension into my recovery that I wasn't getting out of the doctors, nurses in the hospital. When I was going through cancer, I decided when I got through it, I wanted to do something with this, and I didn't know it was going to be CanCare at the time, but as I got to know Leonard and I saw what his relationship with me was doing for me, and even for him, this is what I wanted to do when I got well and was qualified to go through the training, which was a blast. And I got to meet that lady that came to my room that day. I was at a CanCare luncheon, and I saw her standing off to the side. She looked sort of familiar, and I went over there and introduced myself. She's a huge volunteer at Methodist Hospital, Houston Methodist Hospital, but I just couldn't have all this experience and not give it away, give it to somebody else. That's what I needed to do, give it to somebody else, and CanCare was the way to do it.
That's awesome.
It's just all the clients that I had looked at this as it was a bump in the road. They felt like, or they knew they were going to get through it, which is really very important to have a positive mental attitude. Mm-hmm. And what we do by coming into the hospitals or meeting them one-on-one, they just want to see somebody that came out on the other side, is what they say. And I know in visiting the hospitals, they would always thank me, and I think they thanked all the volunteers. It wasn't that I was so unique. And I used to say, well, it's kind of a selfish thing that we do because I feel better than I did when I walked in here. If our words can give them a little bit of hope, that's what CanCare is all about. And there's nothing I've ever done that's as gratifying as what I do with CanCare. I'm not working in the hospitals at the moment, just taking some time off. But when you work in the hospital, they give you these blue lab jackets with all your credentials on the pocket and so forth. And I worked in the clothing business the majority of my life, so I had access to nice clothes. But when I put this blue lab jacket on, I felt like Superman. I walked around the hospital with my chest out, and I felt so empowered when I put that blue jacket on. And the other thing that was unique about the relationship in the hospitals with the doctors and the nurses, when I first went in there, I was a little awkward. I didn't know what to do. I felt like I'd get in the way, but I found the opposite of that. The doctors and the nurses and all the staff, they really support the volunteers at the hospital. They know that we play a very important role in the recovery of the patients.
Stephen chose to turn his cancer journey into a path of purpose and positivity. Stephen was not content to just endure treatment. He infused his days with movement, resilience, and generosity. Whether it was a walk around the neighborhood, a moment of reflection with a friend, or a simple daily ritual, he found ways to keep his spirit moving forward. But it was not just about physical steps, it was about giving back. Stephen discovered that purpose and meaning could come from helping others as they walk similar paths. He found that healing is often a shared journey. In the clip you're about to hear, he shares the principles that carried him through unwavering positivity. His story is a beautiful reminder that movement is not just about the body. It's about the heart, the mind, and the soul. Here's Stephen.
When someone first gets a cancer diagnosis or hears of a cancer diagnosis, I think the first thing they think of is that they're going to lose something. They're going to lose some of their self. They're going to lose opportunities. Doors are going to close. They're not going to be the same person. And I found the exact opposite to be true. I found way more doors opened than closed with my diagnosis, and way more opportunities were created than taken away. And it's in the people that I meet. It's in the organizations that I'm partnered with. Yes, this community is so strong, and it's necessary for patients to have that amongst each other, and that's been just one of the most wonderful things that I've been able to find through my journey. And it's a gift. It's been a gift, and I feel like I've been chosen for a lot of reasons to do something positive with this. Hey, I could sit on the couch and feel sorry for myself and not do anything positive or proactive, which will do nothing but depress me and won't benefit anyone else. Or I can flip the tables, turn the disease on its head, and just try to be as much of a voice as I can. And that's the route that I chose. And it all comes down to a choice. I would like to steer listeners to my 4 favorite keys, or my 4 guideposts that have helped me through many things. And if people can just take a deep breath and take a pause, those 4 words are feet, choice, chocolate, and movement. And using those 4 topics as kind of dials on your dashboard, it's going to keep you positive. It's going to keep you dialed in. It's going to keep you within the right mindset. And simply put, those 4 things mean: feet, just staying present and staying grounded. You can't obsess and stress too much about what's back there or what's ahead of you. Choices, again, make sure you're asking the right questions of the right people. You have decisions to make them collaboratively where necessary. Chocolate, and by that I don't mean Hershey's candy bars. I just mean continuing to do the things that feed your emotional sweet tooth, that make you happy, that feed your soul. Continuing to find a way to feed that emotional sweet tooth, because there are ways and things that you can do, even though you're going through treatment, going through diagnosis, that can keep you grounded. And that's very important. Yeah. And then last, certainly not least, because it's my favorite, is movement, right? I mean, that's the cornerstone for all of our health. I mean, diet and movement. If we have to keep moving, I hear all the time people are fatigued, they're too tired, they don't want to get off the couch. How do we get around that? And it's counterintuitive, but the way you get around that is to just do what you just said you can't do, right? You have to get up, you have to move.
As we wrap up today's episode of Hope in the Face of Cancer, I want to share one more story with you. This is an excerpt from Don's story in our book, Hope in the Face of Cancer, and I'd like to leave this with you today. It says, "My message of hope. If you're reading this while facing your own cancer diagnosis, I want you to know something. As long as there's breath in your body, there's hope. This journey has taught me that healing comes in many forms. Yes, there's physical healing. I'm living proof of that possibility. But there's also emotional and spiritual healing, which are often found in unexpected places. Don't be afraid to let others help you. I know the instinct to protect your family from your fears and frustrations. That's why having someone who's walked this road before can be so valuable. They understand the unspoken thoughts, the midnight worries, the small victories that others might miss. Most importantly, know that you're not alone. Whether it's through faith, family, friends, organizations like CanCare, there are people ready to walk alongside you. Your journey might look different than mine, but the fundamental truths remain. Hope is real, healing is possible, and love, true unconditional love, can carry you through the darkest nights. I've learned that sometimes our greatest challenges become our greatest opportunities to help others. Through cancer, I found my purpose. Through suffering, I found strength. Through uncertainty, I found unshakable faith. And through it all, I found a hope that isn't just a word. Hope is a light that never goes out. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Hope in the Face of Cancer. If you or someone you love is facing cancer, CanCare is here to support you. Visit us at cancare.org to learn more. Until next time, remember, there is always hope in the face of cancer. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Hope in the Face of Cancer, a survivor by your side. If you or someone you know is facing cancer or is supporting a loved one through their journey, we invite you to share this podcast. Thank you for your support in our efforts in the cancer community. No one should face cancer alone.